What's up? Let's get you guys set up right here. Alright, so we are opening a new mold. If I can get this damn stand to sit here properly. Let's take one of our new mask stands here. Help prop it up.
Honey, I need some gloves that fit.
I think I need a new tripod or something.
Why don't you open up your new ring? It's got a phone holder on it.
Oh, yeah.
Easy Bones. Did you forget that they shipped it? Or replaced it?
I haven't had need for it lately, so. Alright, so. If anybody has Nightmare Maker's skull mold or something similar to that, this mold is made exactly like that. The only difference is instead of plaster bandages, I used Ultra Cal and burlap. One, because I've not had the best luck with the plaster bandages, and two, Ultra Cal is much stronger. So I already got this kind of cracked open a little bit. I'm going to show you. Here is the clay on the inside. You can see this is what they call a silicone jacket mold. So what we did was we sculpted this. We used a brush-on silicone over it. And we've not looked at this yet to see how it has come out. So, and then we did a mother mold shell on top of it. And I tried to just do a release and stress this ridge enough, kind of like a Nightmare Maker's mold, so that we could pop it open and whatever like that. At first it seemed like it wasn't wanting to come, so I was going to clean it out, pull the silicone out of the mother shell, but that would take a lot longer than this process where we could pull this apart, peel off the silicone from the sculpt. So I'm showing you guys that. Obviously, when I went to do this, to get a fatter ridge along here, I folded the burlap in half so it was 2-ply and put a nice smooth edge along here. And so basically I'm just, you can see it doesn't, oh, well, yeah, it didn't take much. And since I already pried some back here, just like a 2-part mass mold, once you start prying, as long as you had a good enough release, that crack will follow all the way, let me show you, along. Yep, you can see that. Hey guys! Quiet. Jeez. So, you can see that, and what we're going to do is we're going to pry this apart. I've not done it yet. I've just got it loosened, and we'll hopefully see that this thing turned out okay. So, there we go. There we go. Alright. So you can see the inside. Looks kind of weird and messy, not smooth. That's because if you look at the silicone, when you brush and trowel it on, it's not always real smooth, and you need some cuts here so that it can grip onto something. But you do want it primarily uniform so that when you're reconnecting the shell, it does it smoothly. Something you can do is take some mold soap or basically a little bit of soap and water and smooth over the silicone before it fully cures, and then that'll help smooth this texture out. The only downside to that is you may not have any definition to really lock your mother shell in. However, it just might be a little bit easier that way. So, okay, we're going to pry this guy off here. So there we go. We have our mother shell that fits right back up onto itself with a nice defined seam. And yeah, you'll need a ratchet strap or something like that to pull that guy back in there. That guy to the side. Now we're left with our silicone mold. Now this sculpt is a kind of a cartoony frog. My stepmom wanted a frog for her garden, and I'm putting off getting this done just because of orders and stuff like that. But for Mother's Day, I'm going to surprise her and have this guy done. But as long as it's about 3/8 of an inch, should be thick enough all the way around, silicone wise. And you can see, oh, whoop, you know, silicone doesn't really stick to anything but silicone. It may seem like it does in some cases, but really it doesn't. So many times you don't need a release, but it's still good to use one. Oh, I'm knocking him right now. Alright. So we may have to take some tools to it eventually to get it real nice and clean. We still want to clean out the silicone after the fact. I don't even have anybody on right now, love. Surprisingly. Did it cast to Facebook? I don't know. Okay. Oh, that's weird. There's one little pasty spot that's not cured on the silicone. How the hell did that happen? Say it's been sitting for a whole day. Well, may have made it too thick. Well, we got some issues in here. No, it's... Okay, so this stuff is great. You can enable it to make a glove mold out of it. There's our sculpt. Here's our jacket mold. I have to really wash it out a little bit better. Yeah, there's some real weird things going on in here, honey. Yeah, it's got like some wet spots. The thick spots are fine. It's the thin spots that are all wet. So I'm going to pop that back inside out. Yeah, it's weird. The other thing is, don't use sulfur-based clay because that will inhibit silicone from working. And that's not what we did here, but it looks like there's a few spots that the silicone did not set up appropriately. So that's really weird. But that's okay. We'll let it dry, and then we can take some other stuff and patch it. So there's our frog mold, the inside of it. We're going to let that sit. And like I said, when molds don't always come out perfect, like this one in this case had some wet spots in there, don't know how. It in the instructions and stuff, it needed to set up for 16 hours. Well, it's been probably closer to 24, and there was a few spots still. So I'm guessing maybe a release we used thicker in some spots. It just doesn't make sense why it's fine in most places, and then a few spots it's a little wet. So I don't think it had anything to do with the release. It could have just been, honestly, I don't know. Anyhow, we'll let this dry. I'm going to take a heat gun to it too, just to kind of help work it along. But we're going to let it dry. And then something that people overlook a lot is patching. Anytime we're doing molds and casts and stuff, almost out of any material, it's not always 100%. And we can go back and patch it. So we're going to use some heavy duty silicone to come back through here and coat on top of the thin spots and fill in any imperfections. And when we do that, we'll give it a nice wash out, and then we can actually cast pretty much anything in this guy. We can cast foam, we can cast latex. Don't really work inside silicone, but we can cast concrete, we can cast ultra cals, any of those plaster gypsums we can cast in here and make a replication of what our sculpt was. So, yep. There we have it. New mold. And if you enter in our competition about, it's like the mold challenge, this is one of them. So I showed in another video specifically on